Hello and welcome everybody. I wanted to give you another quick update on Assetto Corsa Competizione. It has had its third update released now, version 0.3, and I know I'm a little bit slow off the mark. It did actually come out a couple of weeks ago, but I didn't want to skip over it. I do want to do each update as it comes out, so whilst I'm a little bit behind, I want to address it, and I do understand that a lot of my subscribers and people that will watch this video don't have access to PC and don't have access to this game just yet. It is, of course, a PC only game, but I still believe, even though I have no evidence to support this, I still do believe that once the final game has been released, that they will try and port it across to consoles, and I'm really hoping they do, because I think it's going to be a fantastic simulator when it's all done. Now, if you do want to know a little bit more about the early release schedule and the game in general, this isn't really the video. I kind of covered off on that back in part 1, so I will link that down in the description and most likely on the screen somewhere here, maybe at the end as well, so go and check that one out, follow them through, but for now we're just going to have a look at part 3. Now, it's not just going to be the version 3 stuff I show you. I kind of want to show you a number of things I haven't really gone through in my previous couple of videos, one of which is the driver profile. I tried to load this up a few times. It just wouldn't load. As you can see, I've just got spinning circles there, so I'll have to check back in on that at a later update. Special events, they keep adding to those. There's actually quite a few of them there now, so you can see hot lap events, hot stint events. To find out what a hot stint is, there is, you know, explanations of that within the game. But the point is, it's starting to flesh the game out a lot more, so that if you do purchase it now, you actually have a few options of things to do. With game modes, they've added in a couple of crucial ones in this update, which I think are going to be really cool, and I wouldn't mind trying them myself. And that is the Endurance 3-hour race weekend, which you can see on screen now. And there's also an Endurance 6-hour race weekend. So I think that's going to be quite cool. The AI seems very good, and you can set the AI to your own difficulty. So once you do maybe a couple of short practice laps to get a handle on what sort of setting you should put the AI on, I think you could have some really fun 3- and 6-hour races there. They are, of course, offline. But nonetheless, if the AI is decent and competitive with your lap time, you can really set it up to have some good fun. So I might try and stream a few of those races if I can. Of course, the car that they added in with this particular update is the BMW M6 GT3, and the track is the Paul Ricard circuit. So if you don't know much about the Paul Ricard circuit, it's a little bit of an ugly track to look at. It started life, I believe, as a test track, and they've eventually migrated that across to racing. Now, it actually didn't start life as a test track. I think it turned into a test track, and that is why you can see all these different colours and all the runoffs, because the point is, when you get on the blue and then out to the red, they actually give you varying degrees of grip, and as you run out there, you get that extra grip, and it basically means you don't slam into any walls, and you don't even really spin around that much. So one of the pros, I think, to this circuit is going to be the online multiplayer stuff. When you are racing online, if you come up against people that perhaps aren't the cleanest racers and they're not afraid to shove the nose up the inside and try and outbrake you, you can afford to run wide, and you don't instantly slam into the wall or get bogged in the gravel, spin around or whatever. So I think in that sense it's going to be great for online racing. But beyond that, even though there are so many variations of the track, and it's a very flat circuit, there is almost no undulation in this at all. It kind of feels like you're racing around in a big car park, but the reality is that the layout they use in the Blancpain series, it's actually quite fun, and once we got a hang of it, I'd never done this track really before in any sim racing at all, so I had to learn this track from scratch, and once I started to get the hang of it, it's actually quite a bit of fun. I didn't mind doing it. Now, I am going to start talking about the multiplayer, because that's the biggest aspect they've added to the game. It's a very, very basic multiplayer. They haven't added much in at all. There's no racing or anything like that. You can just jump in and do online practicing with your friends. So there's a lot more to come in that aspect. This is really, I'd imagine, just testing servers and things like that. Well, not servers, I'll explain later on. But nonetheless, bear in mind that what we actually did when we first loaded this game up, I hadn't spun a single lap around this track. I jumped straight online with Ryan to try and sort that sort of thing out. So ignore the lap times. I was very much learning the track at that point. And unfortunately, it is at night time. We do explain that later. So here's the multiplayer aspect. Right. So, just for a quick recap, we can only join one lobby. We think it's got something to do with a ping of 300, that you have to have a ping of under 300 or it just seems to shit itself and will not allow us into the lobby. So we have found one lobby that it will allow us to get into, and it's at night time, unfortunately. So we're trying to learn the track, which neither of us know at all. We're trying to learn the car. The car feels great, sounds good. But we're going to go and do a couple of laps now to see how we go. We'll try and do an out lap and a flying lap. What do you think about that, Ryan?
Yeah.
Let's get out amongst it. As you can see, I don't mind the way that the name lights up above you. It's only when you're quite close, so the further back you get.
Go up deep.
Yep, same. Follows you out there. Again, I'll just emphasise we are, as Ryan sends a cone flying, we are just trying to learn this track, which has been a lot more difficult. Probably a bit slow through there, but what you'll see, if someone joins, is that, especially whilst I'm going around a right handle like this, it gives you the information of who joins the lobby and who exited the lobby, but it puts it on the right hand side, and it's right in your visual where you're actually looking at the
apex.
At the apex. Yeah, that one tightened on me. You really don't have to run that wide, I find, to have your lap time scrubbed, eliminated.
Yep.
I mean, the track looks nice at night. The whole game looks nice at night. The car looks good. I think it sounds quite good.
I find the braking around the second last board on the left-hand side, you brake a little bit longer, like trail brake into it with the fifth.
Yeah, so I could have gone so much faster than that, but anyway, I got through unscathed. You want to hang out wide, but don't let yourself get too wide. Back to second. No, that was awful. I knew in principle what I wanted to do, but I can confirm I did not do it. Of course, that tightens right up. So I certainly have a lot of practice to do on this track. But anyway, we can't really test out a lot more of multiplayer, can we? Because you can't race. All you can do is some online practice with your friends. You can't create your own server at this point. You have to download, as with Assetto Corsa 1 on PC, you actually have to download their server program, I suppose it is. It's an actual standalone Assetto Corsa program that you have to download, which is kind of complex. I mean, a lot of people potentially could do it, but I know with Assetto Corsa 1, what I actually had to do was download the separate program, and then I got a guy that I used to work with who's an IT whiz to help me set it up so that it established it as a server, but then Assetto Corsa actually doesn't let you race on it because it sort of detects that you're the server or whatever it does. So we had to put some loop in that convinced the game that I was a separate client to the server, so I could run the server and the game off my computer at the same time.
I.e. a lot of stuff around.
It is a lot of stuffing around, and even opening ports on your router is not that easy. Like unless you've got a really mainstream router so that you can just look up easy internet guides, then it's actually more complex than I would have liked. I tried a couple of times and I thought I put the port forward in the right ports, and it just didn't work. So whatever I was doing was wrong, and in the end I had to get, as I say, my mate to set that up. It looks at this point like this is the same deal, whereby you do need to set up an external one. Now, a lot of clubs, like racing clubs and things like that, will actually establish and operate their own server all the time. They'll have a dedicated machine, server machine, which they use to host the lobbies. And they'll leave them going 24/7, so they're separate from their actual PC. And I think you'll find a lot of the, I don't know if you call them clubs or clans or whatever you call them, but I think a lot of people in the server lobby are probably doing that, because I don't believe there's any official Assetto Corsa servers, not that I could find. And it means currently nobody in the oceanic region at all, whether that's Australia, New Zealand, anywhere close, you know, throughout the south of Asia, anywhere that we could try and get a decent beat on. So this server's the only one we're able to join, and I think it probably has something to do with the fact that it was the only server with a ping of less than 300. Car has to be completely stopped before you can quit out or go back to the pits. So that's going to be an issue, I think, when people are pulling over. You'll get used to it though, because that's the same for.
As long as you do it intelligently.
Yeah, and you don't do it in the middle of the racetrack like I just did.
Yeah.
So we'll show you the server list that is populating. Right, you can see the server list right there. So at the moment, the one that we're just in, the ACCC Competizione CO wrap, I don't believe that that's an official server. I don't believe any of these are official servers. I think they're just ones that people have created. I might be wrong. Oh no, there you go, down the bottom, ACC Official 01 and Official 02. Now, someone could have just named that, to be fair, but they may be official servers. They might have chucked a couple up. The rest of these, I believe, are just, you know, j6simracing.com.br. That'll be some sort of clan website sort of deal. They've set their own lobbies up. So in the meantime, unless somebody from the Oceanic region, somewhere a lot closer to where we are, sets up a lobby, I don't think you could race on that anyway. Obviously, we can test it because the lag's not that big a deal when you're just a practice session. But to actually race amongst that ping is way too high. And it depends what their net coding is like, if it can handle it all right, or if it's really dodgy, I don't know. We're going to have to wait until the next update, because this is only a very basic multiplayer. You can see on the right-hand side there, it's pretty much explaining that it's an early access preview. I mean, I don't want to criticize it too much, because it is early access, but it's something of a shame that they haven't done what they do on the consoles, or what Project Cars have done, where you can just create your own server here. It hosts it on my machine, and it's essentially just my own lobby. That, at the moment, doesn't appear to be the case. We need other people to actually set up dedicated servers like these, and we don't have that. Now, there is so much more that I haven't discussed at all that they have listed out in their changelog. There's a ton of items there. I'm not going to go through them all, but I will link the changelog down in the description below. It's worth going and having a read if you're interested in that, because there really is a lot. They're not just adding new cars and tracks. They're also fixing a lot of old issues. There's setup things, there's tyre model changes, traction control changes. There's just so much there. They're really doing a good job. I am really impressed with what they've been doing in each update. So that's worth going and having a bit of a read. I believe as well this is the first update where the price has increased. So if you don't know what's going on there, incrementally, they started out their early access program cheap, and you can pay less for the game and get the whole thing at the end. Or the longer you leave it, the more you have to pay. And I think this is the first update where they've increased the price. So it's still cheaper than it's going to be. So if you're interested, you're not yet sold, it might be worth picking up now while it's still fairly cheap. But if you have stuck with me this far through the video, then thank you very much. Hopefully you've enjoyed what you've seen, and if you have, please leave a like. It does help me out a fair bit. If you want to see more of my content, there's a lot of Gran Turismo stuff. There's also Assetto Corsa stuff, and I'm going to be really going into Project Cars too. I do a lot of simulator racing type of content on my channel, so hey, might be worth hitting subscribe and hit the bell icon next to it to make sure you get notified when I put things up. If you don't like it, you can always unsubscribe later, I guess. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure, and I'll talk to you all next time. Bye for now.